to New Forest Morphs. My name's Paul. I'm here with my son Jared, and today we're doing a care video, but I want to also introduce you to Electra, our super gravel. And Emily and I named her Electra because of the electrifying marks on her back. She's part of our highway project, a very important part. Being a super gravel, she'll go into our super pastel ivory being yellow belly twice, and by putting that in, we should be able to guarantee pastel highways on our first pastel highway projects. So she's a really important girl, and we bought her in a couple of months ago from D&J Pythons, and she is doing really well. She's feeding well, Jared?
Yep, she smashes food.
She just shed today. She's up to about 700 grams, so she's moving closer and closer to that sub-adult size. We'll be moving her into a bigger rub shortly. When they hit about 800 grams, that's the time the females move into a bigger rub. She's feeding so well at the moment, so I think her transition won't be an issue. But Jared did some photography today, and we're going to do a separate video on how to photograph your snakes for morph market and marketing and selling. And Jared will show you how he does that, and we'll just put up a few pictures of her. And we like to take pictures of our snakes when they shed, because that's the time where you're going to get the best colours. But she's very, very beautiful snake. Just look at the eye stripe as well. You can zoom in and see her. She's lovely. She's a bit of a runner, but I love the crazy pattern on her back though. Absolutely superb. If you look at a single gene gravel, it looks kind of dirty, gravelly, but the moment you put two gravels and generate a double gravel gene, it just does wonders to it. Just look what it does to the back, just look what it does to the gravel still there at the bottom, but it kind of cleans it up a little bit by doing a double gene. And there's some crazy little spots on the side there. Can you see those spots on the side? They're like, I don't know, some form of, almost like a leopard in a way, but beautiful animal. There's no leopard in her. She's got a lovely white belly as well. So I think she's a superb specimen of a super gravel, and we're so grateful for D&Jo's producing such a lovely animal. She's got a lovely temperament. She's a pistol when it comes to eating. Always up for food. I don't think she's ever refused since we've had her, even in shed. So she is packing on some nice weight there. Good girth to her. Very healthy snake. Should we guess the weight, Jared? You can have a guess?
Which looks about 730 grams.
730. Well, let's put on the scales, and we'll just weigh her in. So let's just see if we can zero those. Try and get her into a little ball if we can. She's a bit of a runner, so it may not be easy to get her in the scales, but we'll try. I'm going to say 759.
We're both off.
675. Wishful thinking, yeah. Not far off 700 though, so she's doing really well, and really pleased with her. So yeah, what we'll also do is we've also got a new snake that's become available. We've just weighed one of our Mojave Ultra males from touch number 2. I'll just put Electra back, and I'll just bring you this new snake. There you go. Right, which one are we looking at here?
This guy's hiding under his paper right now.
Yeah, I just washed my hands between touching snakes. Also make sure the hands are clean, just as a precaution. And Jared's got a bit of a pistol, Jared. Look at that.
Yeah, he's a lovely boy.
Yeah. So he's weighing in at 101 grams, so that's the minimum weight that we will start to market. he's looking to tag me, Jared, so if you're happy showing him, that's fine. He is available. Just look at the markings on him. He's just shed today, was it?
Yesterday he shed.
Beautiful animal, and it's hard to let go of these animals because I just love them. He's so much like his dad, isn't he? And his dad's been such a lovely temperament and such a good breeder for us that he'll add to your collection. I think Justin Kabalka's putting him into the clowns now, and I think since he's done that, the ultra male genes have become a lot more popular because they're a bit like the genes. I mean, the dad. If I just show you the dad, who's going to be at least probably 3 or 4 years of age, know, the big problem with ball pythons, some of the genes fade with time. And just look at his colours, Jared. I mean, you want me to bring him down?
Sure.
I'll bring him down and show you him. So, this is a mature adult of at least 3 years of age, possibly more.
Still looks just as good.
Just look at the colours on him. So they don't fade. You look at a banana that gets very speckly and starts to fade. The Mojave, just beautiful, aren't they? Ultramales, Mojave Ultramales, just keep beautiful colour.
Let's see if we get his head out a little bit.
Yeah.
Say hello to everyone.
Here he is. So he's smashing food at the moment, and he has hooked up. The good news is
he's a top breeder, isn't he?
Yeah, he's hooked up to Colossus this week as well. So he's back on the next season's breeding cycle. So if we produce any more Ultramales, which I'm hoping we will, there'll be some more coming next year. So that's really wonderful, Jared. So I think now we're ready to move on to the care side of our video, which is to do with the treatment of mouldy eggs.
I'm going to grab the egg.
So before we do that, Jared, let's just talk about, because obviously we don't want to be talking while it's out of incubation. Let's just talk about some of the things that we need. So these are two ideas that I've studied and looked at. So with mould, the first thing is cotton buds are an excellent way of cleaning mould, and we'll come out and get a few of those and clean up a little bit. The other thing that I've been advised, and this is the first time we've ever had a mouldy egg needs treatment, is to use dactaran in powder form. And although that looks like it's in a spray form, my wife's bought it as a spray powder to give it more direction. So we're going to spray down an egg that we've got from the 8-ball clutch. Had 7 eggs. One of them started going mouldy, and I did the research online to see what breeders are recommending, and I think there was a couple of people out there that recommended using this. So I'll be interested to know what your feelings are. How do you treat a mouldy egg? We're going to try cotton buds and powder, athlete foots powder, see if that does anything. So the first question I have, Jared, is what causes an egg to go mouldy?
If it gets wet during its time in incubation, so there's always condensation that appears on the top of the tub that it's in.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that doesn't drip on the egg, and if it does, you can wipe it and make sure that it's dry.
And how often would you do that?
Oh, you just check. I don't open the eggs every day, but I check inside the incubator from the outside, make sure they're looking dry. Some little tip that I have is I put a few poker chips under the one side of the tub, so it creates an angle.
So the rub's going off like that, just like the facility. When the rain comes on the top, it runs off.
Exactly.
So on the underside of your rub, if you've got it on a slight angle,
just a small angle, because you don't want the actual eggs to roll, but you want the water to roll off to one side.
Yeah. So the water, instead of actually dropping onto the eggs, and then if you wet an egg, that's when mould can occur, and it can kill the egg as well.
Yeah.
Water and eggs do not mix. So it's really important to keep those eggs dry, even though there is moisture in the air. They need to be kept moist, but they don't need to be soaked in water, because that's one of the things that will generate mould.
Also, if there's no embryo and no veins in an egg, that can just go mouldy because it's got no life in it, which I think is what our one is, because we candled it the other day and didn't see any veins.
Okay.
So I'm assuming this one's just an egg that's dying because there's no life in it.
Okay. So that's probably the number one reason why a lot of eggs do go mouldy, is that they are either infertile or mainly infertile, and the embryos didn't grow naturally, because all the other eggs, the other 6 eggs, look healthy. Although I have noticed that the mould has started to jump onto the other egg, because Jad and I we don't separate our eggs, and again we might have to evaluate whether this is a good or bad policy. I see a lot of top breeders separating their eggs, and then the reason for that is if one egg does go bad, it doesn't spread into the rest. So I can see the sense in that. But there's another side of me that says natural.
Leave them how they lay. Leave
as they lay. There's another thing. We don't actually candle our eggs normally, do we?
I candle them.
Do you candle them?
Yeah.
So you'd lay them, but then, you know when people put a mark on the top, so they want the embryo sitting at the top?
Yeah, when they separate it so it doesn't roll.
Yeah.
If it does roll, they know where the top is.
Yeah, they say that that's a good thing to do. But when you take a clutch as the female laid them and they're all stuck together and you don't separate, there's 2 advantages. Number one, you're not going to rip an egg, although there is a way of preventing the egg from dying if you do rip an egg using plasters and other methods. We could probably do a separate video on that another time.
if we ever rip an egg.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed we don't.
Yeah. And then the other thing, Jared, is what was I going to say? You know, you talked about putting the rub on your angle to stop the eggs from rolling. What do you use to stop them from rolling?
Usually, if they're all laid together in a group, that they won't roll.
They kind of sustain each other.
But if they're separate, or you just have one good egg, usually I use these actually. And what I do is I rip the soft parts off each side, so you just end up with the plastic. You can use golf tees as well, and then you just wedge them in.
Now I remember watching one of Richard's videos on Predator BP. He started off using a wooden support for his eggs, and they became damp, and they absorbed the moisture.
You want to use plastic.
Yeah, so avoid using any wooden pegs in your incubator. Use plastic, because plastic is a lot more obviously resilient to mould growth. So there's some good things there to consider. The other thing is that when you're going in to maybe wipe the lid off, if it gets too much condensation at the top and you're worried it's going to drip onto your eggs, another tip is to go in there and wipe it with a cloth. But when you go in and open that, they're saying that sometimes it's good to put fresh air into your rub on a weekly basis. Now, Jad, you don't necessarily agree with that, but
no, I leave them.
Yeah,
I've drilled 2 holes either side, so there's airflow, and I leave them for the however many days, 55 days, and they've all come out fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I think other breeders, again, looking at some of the videos, they will take a different approach.
Exactly.
It works for them.
Works for you.
Yeah, you have to work it out, but that's another thing. So I think what we should do now, Jared, is we should get on to the treatments. Let's bring out that. Shall I hold that for you?
I can take them over and show you the incubator. Yeah. So this is our little incubator we've got set up. Here, see it's at an angle. So we've separated one of the eggs, which is the mouldy egg. Here. See the mould on it. And this one is probably past the point, but we'll do what we can.
Yeah. We've always got to assume that there's life in there, even though there doesn't appear to be, because you never can tell. If you look at King Austin on mutation creation, he believes in selecting the mouldy eggs because he gets what he calls mould gold. But you can see how the mould is building on there. So what I would do first is I would clean it up first. And so I just take off as much as I can without spraying it down, like that, and you'll just see how these buds are cleaning up, and just that spreads like wildfire. Honestly, it only started a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
If you don't get
on it,
the key is once you see it, get rid of it, get rid of it as soon as you can. It just grows like wildfire, and we've got another 2 weeks plus on those eggs before we get those 8 balls. And we can't run the risk of the whole clutch coming down like this, because it could actually be catastrophic. So we're going to keep working with this. So we're just going to clean it up.
Normally we don't separate our eggs, they all go in the same tub, but when they look like this,
just look how much is on that. Yeah. Now where's our bin?
Behind you.
I'm not going to get that on my hands. Straight into the bin. And just a bit more cleaning, and then we'll spray the powder on it and see what happens. And what we'll do is we'll do an update for you. So give it a couple of days. You can see just how much mould is on here, a lot of it. And then what we'll do is when we put on that powder, let's just see what happens to the egg in terms of bringing this mould to an end. And I'm just getting off any mould I can manually first with dry. I've put no water on that, that's all dry coming off. And the key is to go underneath. There's a lot underneath. Just look how much is underneath there. Look at that, right at the bottom. You're going to get through a lot of cotton buds doing this, but the mould starts from the bottom, works its way up. Jared, just look at that.
There's a lot of mould.
Yeah, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm just going to clean and get that as clean as we can, and then once I'm happy, we're going to spray it down and see what impact that has. You can save eggs doing this, and many people have done this on their videos and saved life. So it is really important to take this very carefully and seriously. Make sure that you give that opportunity for life its maximum chance you can. Preventative medicine is better, so obviously getting the mixture on your vermiculite right. If you've overdone it with the water,
Well, that's if you're going straight into vermiculite. If you've got this egg crate here, you want to make sure that we'll do a setup video.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that your vermiculite is wet, but not sploshy, so it doesn't go all over the egg.
What happens if it dries out in mid-course? Say you get a heat spike and your water's drying out in the rub.
Usually with this method it won't, because there's enough in the bottom. But it won't hurt to add a little bit of warm water to the vermiculite, not on the egg crate, but in the side over there. Pour a little bit of water.
What, on the edge?
If needed. You shouldn't have to do it, but if it's needed, it can be done.
It takes quite a while to clean up, so you have to be patient, not rush it, but you've got to just.
But you also got to not take too long, because otherwise the egg will cool. So it's getting the balance.
Good point. I mean, I can just see just how much dust is coming off there. So, right, let's spray it down. So we've done a good cleaning job there. We've done as much as we can. Right, let's just give this a go. Give it a shake, and we'll just spray it down.
Yeah, usually you use powder, but this is what they had available, so powder spray.
This is powder spray, so it's coming up on there. Right, let's just see what that does.
It just dries out any fungus or any moisture that's in there.
Good, we'll get that back in now, Jared.
Yeah.
So
we'll hope for the best.
Just see how that impacts. I've got a feeling that the shake on powder might work better.
It's not on properly.
So yeah, I think Mandy's got this for us, but I'm not convinced it's necessarily the right way. I think we might have to try one with just powdered athlete's foot.
Here's the babies we cut the other day. Oh, it looks like one is out of the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were worried about both of them, weren't we? Because we were worried that
one's come out.
Wow.
And the other's on his way, or her way.
Okay, let's have
both cinnamon pies, which is good.
Yep, let's have a little look and the cutting we did yesterday. So
look at that. Well, there's definitely one that's darker than the other, so I reckon there's extra genes in them.
They've doubled in size, Jared.
Yeah, they've got big.
What's happened to all the egg in here? There was a lot of egg, what I call scrambled egg in there. Do they like?
There's a bit still attached to the bottom. If you look at this one here,
yeah,
right at the bottom, there's a little bit of oozy stuff.
Oh, I can see it now.
I'm assuming that's a little bit of it.
Yeah. I wonder whether they eat.
They might eat some of it.
Any of that scrambled egg left over, which they might have a preference for bacon and scrambled eggs. If anyone knows, any experienced breeders out there, and they can explain to us, how quickly these guys come out and what happens to the egg, the solid egg that was left in there. And that seems to have disappeared. I mean, look at the egg yolk. There's very little left in there.
Yeah.
So do they eat it, or does it just dissolve into everything? I don't know. It was pretty solid, wasn't it?
These are lovely little snakes, though. We were worried about them, but they've turned out to look beautiful.
Yeah. Very pleased with them.
When they're all shed out, we should be able to tell what they are.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I think this one here might have pastel in it.
Yeah, I think if you look at the blushing on the head, to me that looks like a cinnamon pastel pied, is what I'm guessing.
I guess that as well.
This one, I reckon, could be an Orgina. That could be a cinnamon pastel yellow belly pied, but
it's hard to tell with cinnamons because there's so little pattern.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the blushing on the head though. I mean, that could be an Orgine animal there, Jared. But we'll wait and see. Anyone's got any comments? Once they come out of shed, you can see them better. But
we'll update again on them.
Yeah, I'm really pleased, Jared. It's they've come out a lot better than I expected. They're nowhere near. I thought one of them would be like Midge, but obviously its body was tucked behind everything. So
yeah.
So that's good. So just to wrap up, then we're going to let's get this back. Let's get that back in the incubator, Jared.
We'll let them come out properly, and we'll update once they've shed.
Well done.
And there's the other eggs in there. See, there's a little bit of mould on that one at the end, so treat that as well.
Yeah, that's an equal clutch in there. We'll try the cow.
Yeah.
well, welcome back to New Forest Morphs. So just giving an update on the egg that was suffering with mould. As part of, there was 7 eggs on our 8-ball clutch, and one of them was going mouldy. Jared did candle it and couldn't see any veins, but I said to him, let's treat it anyway just in case. But we've put some powder on it, and you can see that it's quite a liberal amount of powder going on there to try and absorb the moisture to stop the mould from increasing. And it started off on this side, and obviously it was spreading, and since we put the powder on it, it seems to be containing it. We don't think there's a baby in here. And what's the reason for that, Jared?
Well, it's already started to dimple in, still got 2 to 3 weeks left.
Well, it's the 17th, we're on the 5th, 12 days to go.
12 days to go.
They do start dimpling within 5 or 6
and
days.
There was no veins when I had a look at it.
Yeah.
And it just looks dead to me. We'll let it go full term just in case.
Yeah. I'm going to monitor it over the next couple of days.
Past its best.
Because even though there may not be a baby in there, I still think we can experiment with controlling the mould to see whether this powder. So eventually we went online to get this foot powder, which is basically athlete's foot powder. And a lot of people swear that that's a good way of controlling mould on eggs. And we've never done it before, it's our first mouldy egg, so...
It absorbs any moisture that might be on the egg.
Yeah. So we'll basically leave it for a few days. To say we've got to cut that clutch in about 10-12 days time, so we'll cut this one as well, unless it's really stinking bad. Obviously we'll let you know on that one. But some eggs just don't become fertilised, or they just don't grow, so mould often comes not because of a moisture issue, but because there's no growth in the egg. Would you agree with that, Jared?
It's both.
Yeah.
Either a moisture issue or no growth in the egg.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll put this back, I'll get out the 8-ball clutch and show you how that's looking. We've put a marker on one of the, because we leave them where they lay, this egg was laying against another egg, and that's why we separated it, so it wouldn't spread through the other eggs. But Jared's put a marker on there, haven't you, Jared? You're going to see whether the mould is being contained.
We don't want it out for too long, so just be real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick one.
Okay. Put that in there. I think it looks pretty good. We'll keep the incubator warm. Let's have a quick look at this clutch.
So that's where it was touching there.
Yeah. Has it spread at all?
No.
So
the silver lines on the outside, that's where I've drawn.
yeah.
And it's stayed within that, so I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
So
do the eggs look healthy to you?
Eggs all look good to me. They look healthy.
It's starting to dimple at the top there.
Starting a little bit of a dimple. That's alright though, it's still full of yolk, and they're all warm and good. Temperature's been right, humidity's right, so
good.
hopefully.
So there's 6 good eggs left. Hopefully we've got a chance of an 8-ball there. We shall keep you posted.
8-ball pied, yeah.
8-ball pied, yeah. So we'll just put that back.
Lovely.
Good. Right, well, thank you for watching, and the next video will be going through the collection, giving you the updates of where we are. I'm going to show you how to do all the cleaning videos, and with the cleaning we just give you a day on our Mondays we do a deep clean, we do a feed as well. You can see we've got various rats out as well, so they'll be all featuring on our next film. But thank you for watching New Forest Morphs, and we'll see you next time.